So I am here with the co-writer and director, Odine Viñao, and the producer and actor playing Michelle, Ivy Freeman-Attwood from Two Neighbors. Ladies, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me today. So my first question is for Ondine. What was the inspiration for this film? And I'm curious to know what came first, the idea or the drive to adapt a fable?
Well, the Fable by Aesop, Avaricious and Envious, was the initial inspiration, and very soon after that came, sorry, does this sound okay? Came the idea of, because I knew I wanted to put it into a contemporary setting, sort of updating the protagonists to be Stacy and Becky from the kind of, incel meme cast-like system that has developed over the course of, past decade or so, and originated on 4chan, in which, you have a kind of hierarchy of women and men as well, which we, try to include in the film, in particular with somebody like Chad, Stacy's boyfriend, and Sebastian, Stacy's brother, who's kind of the role of, the virgin, if you're familiar with the original kind of meme drawings that that this came from. And that felt to me obvious as a vessel to update this fable, to put, the envious one potentially as Becky and the greedy one as Stacy, both to try to, dismantle these archetypes, but also to try to maybe show, like in the original fable, it lacks context for what kind of culture creates envious people and greedy people. It just shows punishment for them. The meme also doesn't show where do Stacy's and Becky's come from, because even though it is offensive and totally reductionist, there are also elements of truth in these depictions, but it doesn't account for any of the forces at play here of why women might wind up leaning into one of these two, roles. And in general, my work before this was primarily video art and installation. But still, I always liked to kind of adapt more archaic texts, whether that's Greek mythology or parables. So I kind of often look to these kinds of sources for initial inspiration.
And so for Ivy, how did you come on board to this project? And then once on board, how did you feel about pulling double duty as a producer and as a performer?
I came on board, a friend of mine who's an EP on this, grew up in London, moved to New York, so sort of knew of Ondine through a friend of a friend and knew I was looking for projects. The film was originally a short that we then decided to adapt into a feature, so I was sent what is now the end of the film, without saying too much. So I read it and I was really kind of blown away. It felt different. Most importantly, it felt like something I wanted to see. And I don't think you get that a lot, especially reading things. They feel predictable often or formulaic, and this really didn't. I loved this old story put into the lens of a modern experience, especially for young women. I like sort of messages being portrayed through a stylized lens, so Ondine's sort of sensibility really suited what I love to watch and I think therefore make. I think you have to be a fan of what you're making. And then we had one chat and decided to do it together, so it was pretty easy to decide that. And then with Double Duty, kind of helped with Michelle a bit. So Ondine wrote the part for me, with a little bit of a joke in there about Michelle being quite producerial herself. So I didn't particularly, I sort of had to, it wasn't really so. I maybe had to switch into producer me anyway on set. So actually staying in that area as her was okay. Some days was funny. I'd be producing in like full costume and a hairnet, so it was fun. But yeah, I actually think my role as producer suited her. If I'd been, I'm perhaps more pampered like an actor, and sat my trailer, it might have been actually more of an effort to switch into her. So I think it helped.
So this one can actually be for both of you. Talk about the conversations you had with the design teams, because you created this both beautiful, lush aesthetic and then like an underground club aesthetic. So what were those conversations like, and how did you come up with the look of the film? Whoever would like to...
I'll start and then pass off to you. Just would like to say that we were blessed to have, in my opinion, the best art department that exists on planet Earth. Lily Leah Abraham is a genius whose name everybody will know one day. I call her my modern day, and I'm going to butcher the following name, Aiko Ishioka, who, was costume designer and production designer and graphic designer and worked, with everyone from Coppola to Tarsem. So she was very passionate about the material, and this was a very research-heavy project, and she was devoted to doing the research. So by the time it came down to actually building out our sets and building out this universe and decorating the bedrooms of all these different people, we all had like a really clear idea of who they were. And when you have something like that, it makes it easy, it makes it fun, and also gives you lots of opportunities for Easter eggs, which we had a good time with in this film. So, I mean, there were so many visual Bibles, there were so many conversations about everything, every painting that's shown in this film. I can't actually sing their praises enough. It was one of the greatest blessings of making this, was to get to know Lily and all of the people who worked for/with her in bringing this to life, personally, professionally. I took this film to a whole, other level.
Yeah, second that, I think what she did was quite extraordinary, especially with the budget of this. A lot of we wanted to be very accurate with everything in the film. So like, what would Stacey actually use on her skin? Like, what makeup would she actually use? Like, how would her room actually look? We took inspiration from like certain people on the internet and like the mess of their bedrooms, even though they have the capacity and space to be tidy, and like that was interesting. So things like that. And then with Paige, our costume designer, she worked very closely with Lily and her whole department, and every color was thought out and every style. And again, like, what do people of Becky and Stacey's ages in New York actually wear these days? And so we tried to really kind of, although it's stylized and heightened, like really ground it in reality. So when people are watching it, they're like, oh yeah, like, and I know that. And our hair and makeup team as well, just all of them were beyond extraordinary, like, beyond what you could hope for, and yeah, amazing.
And so this will be my last one. I'll kind of combine my last two into one small two-parter. So congratulations on your first feature film as a director, as a producer. That's an awesome accomplishment. What is the greatest takeaway that you have that you learned working on this that you're going to take into your next project? And what are you hoping people take away from Two Neighbors after they watch it?
I think that kind of being a little naive is a good thing with film. I think you have to take something that you want, and there can be no barrier to this, and you can't think this is going to be hard or... So I think slightly almost pushing that to the side and being like, it's going to work, it's going to happen. And I think that really helped us, and that happened by accident being our first films. But I think it's something that I would actually take on with other projects, of kind of like, Well, it's possible if I think it is, and I think that really worked for both of us, and we feel very proud of like being able to do it together. Sorry, what was your other question?
What do you want people to take away from the film after they watch it?
Again, in terms of, I hope bravery and boldness and kind of being like, oh, well, if this is possible to get made and be sort of a strange and new thing, then I hope in even a tiny way it might encourage other people to push the envelope and kind of crack open what they think is possible in the industry at a time where it feels quite risk averse and in some ways a bit stagnant. So we hope it can do that in some way.
These are hard questions. I think one of my biggest takeaways is it's like kind of the opposite of this Orson Welles quote, where he talks about having cast his like friends, for example, in roles, and the film suffering as a result, but him wanting to do it again just because he prefers spending time with his friends versus professionals. And I would say my biggest takeaway from this is the product is better when you're working with people you love, and I really feel strongly about that. Whether it is crew or cast, above or below the line, it's everything, because even my ability to communicate is better when it is with someone who I am, whatever, like spiritually aligned with.
Yeah, you have your heart behind it.
For sure.
In a bigger way.
So that was my main takeaway, and that is what I hope to take to my next projects, which hopefully they let me make them after this one. Is that I want to work with a lot of the same people. I want to have actors, and I want to have crew that I'm with on as many of my projects as I can. And then for what I want people to take away from it, I would say two things. One is exactly what Ivy said, to please stay imaginative, because that's like what gives me my life force when I see a special movie or a special piece of art that is everything. That is what I would like to see from other people, not just myself. So yeah, if somebody else might see this and be like, oh wow, okay, maybe I can do this weird thing, that would mean the world. And then additionally, I have my own ideologies or philosophies or feelings about the world or what's wrong with the world, and I don't want to be overly didactic and I don't want to spell it out, but I hope that people might engage seriously with the movie and be left with thoughts afterwards. That would be amazing. So yeah. Any thoughts, to take it seriously, It's a glossy, shiny, funny movie, and very intentionally so, but there's also a lot of very serious things underneath there, and I would hope that that is also engaged with. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the festival, and best of luck with the film.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.